Hey all, and welcome to Recruitable University. My name is Ahmed, and on today's recruitment program, today we are doing module number 2 on the recruitment program. So module 2 is niche mastery, how to select a niche. We'll be going through a couple of sub lessons on this topic and going through how to select a niche, the different types of niches, and what niches at the moment are the most busiest and has the highest market value. And we'll be going through different types of niches, how to select a niche, what is general and what is niche recruitment. So if we get into it, first one of them being difference between general and niche recruitment. So before we go into this any further, let's just try to understand what is general recruitment, what is niche recruitment. So if I give you some examples of companies that do general recruitment, some of them being Hayes Recruitment. So if we look at Hayes, they do a bit of everything: accountancy and finance, construction, education, engineering, human resources, tech, IT, sustainability, life sciences. So you can see here general recruitment. So they don't just only focus on a specific niche, as opposed to if we go into like medical recruitment agencies. Let's just select any of them here. So we've got Cromwell Medical Staffing, not heard of them, but or My Healthcare Recruitment. So if we go on their website, we'll notice is that these guys, as you can see here, specialists in healthcare. So the difference between general recruitment and niche recruitment is general, you're going to be doing a bit of everything, whereas niche recruitment, you have your focused niche that you know that you are targeting and you know your market. So it will be more, personally, I would find it a lot easier to deliver to. And we'll be going through how to select a niche, identifying high value niches, which niches are high valued and are the hottest at the moment. We'll go through a couple of them to we'll look at the top 5, let's say. Then we've got temp recruitment versus perm recruitment, long-term placement, short-term placements, and temp to perms. So if we start with general recruitment, as we mentioned, general, you've got a higher selection of, or you've got a higher option. So your larger candidate pool, so you have a huge amount of candidates, but you have also a huge amount of unqualified candidates. So it's one thing to take into consideration. Yes, it's lovely having hundreds of applicants, but of those hundreds, let's say 65% may be irrelevant to you. So only 45% of those will be actually relevant. And when it comes to general recruitment, faster hiring process. So it's easier to hire, sorry, but you're spending a lot more time hiring these people because you're screening more candidates. You've got a lot of lack of talent, should I say, who are not matching the skills that your client is looking for. Then you've got general recruitment being cost effective is great because you can post so many vacancies out. You can recycle some of those vacancies. You can recycle those templates. Also expect to have potential mismatch in skill sets. You may have people with either who are too qualified may apply for your position, or people who are unqualified may apply for those positions. When it comes to niche recruitment, which is a lot easier in terms of when you've got a focus, you know exactly what your target is, who your market is, so you know how to deliver to those people. But as you've got highly qualified candidates, expect your candidate pool to be a lot smaller. Do not expect to have the same amount of drivers and have the same amount of doctors. Naturally, you'll have less doctors than drivers, as it's a niche, as it is a skill. So when it comes to niche recruitment, the candidates that you supply to your clients may be they'll be better skilled and it'll be a cultural fit. But to find those type of candidates is like, I was going to say like finding a needle in a haystack, but it's more realistic than that. It's just to find those type of candidates is going to take you a lot longer than when it comes to general recruitment. You know, to find a laborer versus finding a skilled nurse. When it comes to niche recruitment, you'll have stronger industry reputation. You'll have a deeper knowledge in your industry, in the market that you are recruiting for. Also to expect to spend a little bit more when it comes to the recruitment cost, and we'll go through job boards and the different types of job boards that you may find those type of candidates over the next few lessons. Hey guys, this is Ahmed from Recruitable University on our second lesson on niche mastery, how to select a niche. So we've done the differences between the general recruitment and niche recruitment. So now you know whether you want to be a generalist or a specialist. So now we'll be going through, if you want to be a specialist, you want to select a niche, how to select a niche, and what niches at the moment are really, really busy. So first and foremost, once you go into a niche, you've got to know your industry knowledge, the terminology, jargon, etc. So you got to know the terminologies, whether you're going into healthcare recruitment, whether you're going into IT. If you're selling a candidate, you got to know what you are saying to your clients. So first and foremost, having the, whether it doesn't have to be deep knowledge, but you have some sort of base knowledge of the industry terminologies. Passion and interest, some people say go into a field that you have a passion for and interest. I say is not a must, but it helps if you, let's just say you've got a master's or a degree in finance, or you're an accountant by trade, then it's a lot easier to go into something that you have a passion for or an interest in. And let's just say you are an IT engineer and you're looking into starting your own recruitment agency, and now you're looking at what niches should I look at? Well, if you look at your own interest, your passion, and you say to yourself, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to IT. I can sell a person like myself any day long. I can talk about my own skill set any day long. Then it'll be very, very straightforward and easy for you to master the niche that you have a interest or a passion for. How to select a niche, identifying your target. So looking at who is the target audience that you want to focus on. So again, if you come from a network of engineers, then your target audience is a lot easier. Then you can say, you know what, I know engineers, I've got a network of engineers on my books. I'm going to start with engineers. Let's just say you're a doctor by trade and you want to get into recruitment. Now you have a target audience of doctors on your books already, friends, colleagues. So it'll be a lot easier for you to go directly into this field. When it comes to selecting a niche, look at what industries are profitable and which industries are using recruitment agencies a lot. So we can even look at, you can just play around online. So if you go on Indeed, for example, and just type in whatever field you want to look at. So if you want to look at software developers, let's just say software developers, we've got, and just click find jobs. We've got over 6,000 jobs on software developers on Indeed. So if we look at how many agencies are actually being used to find software developers, we've got 432 agencies for these 6,000 jobs. If we look at nursing, we've got 2,652 agencies when it comes to nursing. So it just gives you an indication of, okay, this industry or this niche that I want to go into, there's a huge amount of agencies being used. That is actually a good sign. It shows you that there is a huge demand and agencies are required. So before you select a niche, have a little look around online and see which industries are more profitable, which ones are doing really, really well. Look at the fee structures. That's one thing that I look at when I select a niche. I look at, okay, so if I'm going into, let's just say, hospitality, the type of candidates I'm working with are on about £14, 15, £16 per hour. That shows me the market or the markup on profitability will be a lot less than someone who's earning a lot higher. So a doctor who's earning £90 an hour, it's a lot easier that you can make £10, £15 per hour every hour they're working, versus a cleaner who's on about £11 an hour. You're not going to make more than a couple of quid per hour. So look at the fee structure, look at the niche that you're looking into, how much are those candidates earning, and is it a high end niche or is it a low end niche? Then look at client budgets. Are clients looking for recruitment agencies in those fields? Are clients actually reaching out to agencies or are they filling them themselves? There are certain fields that the demand for recruitment agencies is not as high as others. So when it comes to, for example, that's why I say, so you either want to be a generalist or a specialist. If you go down the route of a generalist, then your client budgets or the client budgets will be a lot lower. And an example of that will be if you are going into admin or office recruitment, you're looking at a much lower finder's fee, much lower commission structures as opposed to higher end niches such as engineers, IT, healthcare professionals. So look at the profitability of the niche that you are doing. Is it something that the candidates are already getting a really, really good salary? So you try to follow, or what I do is try to follow the market salaries. So if I'm recruiting engineers, engineers are going to be on top salaries. That means my commission will be a lot higher than someone who will be on a lower salary. So it's more of looking at white collar versus blue collar. Yes, it's amazing having blue collar because you. So what white collar and blue collar is, before I go into it, is white collar is generally a specialist. So when it comes to IT, healthcare, engineering, these are white collar fields. And when it comes to blue collar fields, you're looking at laborers. So you may get a client asking you for 15 to 20 laborers, but those 15 to 20 laborers commission structure or the value of what you will actually earn from them may be equivalent to supplying one doctor or one private nurse. So selecting your niche, the way you should look at it is what is it that you are trying to, what is your goal? What goal do you have in mind? Are you open to going into a field that you may not have as much knowledge about and try to learn that field and really do really, really well, even though that field may be a lot smaller in terms of the candidate pool and the client, but the commission structure will be a lot higher and the candidates are of course being paid a lot more. So I personally prefer going into white collar. Yes, the work will be a lot less, but it's like you're doing less work, but getting slightly better pay than blue collar in terms of the commissions and the finder's fees. And we'll be going into that shortly as well. What commissions are, what are finder's fee, what are terms and temp recruitment and perm recruitment. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Hello guys, it's Ahmed and welcome to Recruitable University on today's recruitment program. So we've been going through the second module on niche mastery and we did a few lessons already. So we went through the difference between general recruitment and specialist recruitment or niche recruitment, how to select a niche. Now we'll be going to look at identifying high value niches. How do you know a niche is really, really high value and it's the right niche for you? So the best way to look at a high value niche is look at the industry growth. Look for the industry that are grown and have the highest demands for talent. Don't look at dying industries. A dying industry, for example, I would say is oil and gas. Oil and gas is not as in high demand as it was before. Now people are looking at renewable energies and sort of different fields at the moment. So renewable energies and wind farms, etc. So that is a really field that's really booming and is growing at the moment. And look at other industries that have a high market value. So that is how I look at the industry before you decide which one to go for. How much do they contribute towards the recruitment market value? And so some of the industries that are really busy at the moment is healthcare. And if we look at healthcare recruitment, how much have they contributed towards the market value? 5.1 billion. So in total, the temporary healthcare recruitment agency market is valued at 5.1 billion across the healthcare sector. So that's 11.8 over the last 5 years. So healthcare is a huge market. So, and it's really busy, as we know as well. People are always getting ill. People always need the healthcare, and it's an industry that's not going to be dying for the unforeseeable future. So next one we've got is evaluate the competition in your chosen niche. So look at, is there competition in the niche? If there is, that is a good sign. It shows that they are using agencies. Like I showed you in the previous slide, the best way to look at that is just go on Indeed, look at, let's say, for example, let's just say engineering, and let's see how many jobs we can find on Indeed. Over 28,000 engineering jobs. And you can see about 5,000 agencies. So competition is actually a good sign. It shows you that they are using agencies, and you would be very much welcome in that space as long as you're able to deliver. So never look at competition as, okay, this industry is saturated. It clearly shows that there is a demand, there is a need, there is 5,000 agencies working on that demand, and there is no reason why you can't work in that same space too. As long that clients, the way they look at it, and a lot of people, this is one thing they get wrong. They say to themselves, you know, why would why would a client use my agency? And I've only been trading for a month or 2 or 3. I don't have the same reputation, or I don't have the same industry knowledge as my competitors. But the way you should look at it is, clients, they only care if you can deliver. Some wouldn't care if you've been around for 2 years or 2 days. If you've got the right candidates for them, and they've got the right skill set they are looking for, they will bite your hand off and take your candidate as soon as they can. So look at the market that you're looking into. Are there other agencies in that field? If there is, great, jump on that field and get a piece of the cake. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I see you on the next one. Hello guys, it's Ahmed again from the Recruitable University. On today's recruitment program, we've covered 3 lessons so far on the niche mastery, the second module. We've covered the difference between general and niche recruitment, how to select a niche, identifying high value niches, and now we'll be going on to temp recruitment versus perm recruitment. So what are the differences between temp and perm recruitment? The difference between temp and perm recruitment is temp is temporarily, so it's a shorter term placements or shorter term recruitment, as opposed to permanent recruitment, it's a longer term. So there's 2 types of vacancies. So even if we look back on Indeed, and we'll be able to see the vacancies here. So if we typed in engineering and we type engineering over here, find jobs, we'll find there's over 28,000 jobs. So of those 28,000, how many of them are temps? How many of them are perm? Permanent of those is 10,000, just over 10,000, and temps is 630. So permanent is when they're looking for someone on a permanent basis. So it's straightforward. You'll supply a client with a permanent candidate. You'll arrange a finder's fee, and we'll be going into what finder's fee is, I think, over the next couple of slides. And then that's a done deal. It's the candidate then belongs to them. They've paid you your fees, your finder's fees, your commissions, and whatever agreement you had between each other. And that's it. The candidate now belongs to them. So temp recruitment is slightly different. It's the candidate is on your books. The candidates you have to pay. The candidates are your responsibility. Once the candidates work, they will come to you for their pay and anything else. And we'll go into that shortly. So the pros of temp staffing, or the pros of having temp contracts, is a lot more passive. So you'll have, sorry, I've moved over slides. So pros versus cons. So the pros of temp staffing, you don't have to make placements every month, and you can have a candidate working for you for 12 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Is literally, there is no ending. It really depends on the client and what they're looking for. So it's very lucrative. You can earn, it's a passive income. What else about I can say about temp staffing? And you can earn on whether it's days, nights, weekends. So every hour or every day that the candidate is working, you are earning. So it's fantastic when it comes to temp staffing. It's really, really great. It's very, very passive. It's like a regular income just hitting your accounts every hour that they're working. So every moment they clock in, you clock in. They sent you the hours that they've worked, and then that's it. You get to invoice your clients. And the cons or the downside of temp staffing is if that candidate is ill, they don't work, you don't get paid. If the candidate or terminates the contract, that booking is essentially void and it no longer stands. So it's another con or another downside to temp staffing is you have to pay for those your candidates up front and invoice your clients thereafter. And then we'll be going through how to invoice through the payroll modules as we get there. Pros versus cons on perm staffing. So look, perm staffing, having a permanent candidate is great. The pros, the first thing I can think of is the amount that you get paid. So the way it works is once you find a candidate on a permanent basis, you agree a salary with your client, whether it's 20% of the first year annual salary, whether it's a flat fee of 10 grand for the finding of the individual or the candidate that you found for them. So you agree a fee, whether it's a percentage or a flat fee. It's entirely up to yourself and your client. Once you've agreed and you've shaken hand and they've signed your terms, you find them a candidate. They will interview your candidate. If they like your candidate, they will place your candidate on a permanent position to work at their organization. They will then pay you a finder's fee for the candidate that you found them. Once they pay you the finder's fee, the candidate now belongs to them. They pay them, the candidate is on their books, and you get a one-off fee that you've agreed between yourselves, and that's it. It's very profitable, it's lucrative, and it's a lump sum. So it's great. So, let's say, for example, in the healthcare industry, finding a doctor is not unheard of, getting a 15 to 20 grand placement. In the IT industry, finding a high-end IT engineer, you're looking at anything between 18 grand to about 25 grand as a finder's fee. That's a one-off fee they pay to you to say to you, thank you for your services. Thank you for finding us this candidate. So imagine £20,000 for one placement. That's a salary almost you're earning in one placement. So if you've got two of those candidates that you find per month, that's £40,000 you can earn every single month. These numbers are not insane. I know it might sound crazy to you, but this is absolutely industry standard. 20%, anything between, I would say anything between 12.5% to 20% is industry standard. Anything lower than that, of course, the client is getting a good deal. And anything higher than that, you are getting a good deal. So do you have to specialize in either temp or perm? I would say absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, whatever niche that you go into, I would recommend that you tackle both sides of the market. So, for example, if you go into the healthcare niche and you go into the healthcare sector and you start your own healthcare agency, you will find a lot of hospitals and trusts and surgeries are looking for doctors, nurses, paramedics, what have you, healthcare staff. They will send you, or you'll get vacancies from them, or you'll find vacancies online for temporary placements. Once you got your foot in the door and you know how to do temp staffing and you've got your temporary pool of candidates, look at also the permanent side of things. Because what happens is clients are generally using temp staff in order to fill their short-term gap until they find a permanent recruitment and permanent member of staff to join their team. So look at both sides of the market. Why not tackle both? So tackle the temp side of things and supply temp staff. And at the same time, you can open a sister company. You can keep it under your umbrella. You can keep it under your company and focus on perm staff as well. So you've got a bit of both. You've got ongoing, lucrative, passive, daily or hourly rates coming in from the temp side of things. And then you've also got lump sums of finder's fees from the clients for the permanent recruitment. I hope you understood this and you've managed to grasp everything I've said. And I see you on the next one. Hi guys, this is Ahmed from Recruitable University and on today's recruitment program. So we are still on module 2 on niche mastery, and we've covered some of the lessons already on general recruitment and niche recruitment. We went through how to select a niche, identifying high value niches, looking at temp recruitment and permanent recruitment, and we'll be going now through long-term placement and temp to perms. So what is a long-term placement? And what is the difference between a long-term placement and a permanent position? Is it the same thing? So a long-term placement, it's more of a placement where you're not permanent. So it's potentially what some clients like to do. So I'll give you some vacancies examples. What they like to do is hire you on a long-term temporary position at the moment, and then gradually move you over from the long term to a permanent. So if we look at some vacancies over here, we look at, okay, we've got a primary school here looking for a teacher, long term to permanent contract. So having someone on a long term to eventually switching them over to a permanent member of staff. So long-term placements, why clients like it, or why some clients will say to you, I'm looking for someone long-term, it provides stability and predictability. You have less things that you lose over handovers, because whenever you hand over a short-term position, some things get lost in the work. So it does provide the stability side of things, and it's predictable as well, knowing that you have the same person coming in. So that will also bring us to the next point of long-term and why clients like it, especially sometimes you find in the healthcare industry, they prefer having long-term in the same person. It provides continuity of care to the patients. So, you know, a patient gets seen by a doctor today, and then tomorrow they'll be seen by another doctor. Some hospitals prefer, or some trusts, they would prefer a long-term candidate who can just stay with the practice or stay with the hospital for a longer stretch of time. This minimizes disruption caused by turnover, because, you know, every time you have a new candidate, either something may get lost, or it may get misplaced, or notes may not be passed over correctly. So it does provide continuity of care to patients. And again, also other people who prefer, other clients that may prefer long terms are, again, schools, as an example that we saw. A teacher, they would have a teacher teaching a classroom rather than having in one semester having 6 different teachers. So long term is something that is definitely preferred by a lot of clients. Long-term placements sometimes do come at a higher cost. So long-term placements are higher and costing than a permanent placement. But when it comes to long-term, some clients will say to you as well, since I'm going to be giving you a long-term position, is there anything you can do to negotiate on the rates? So expect to drop your rates down a little bit. Expect to not your commission to be down slightly, because you're getting a long-term placement in return. So for example, if a short-term placement would have cost the client £3,000, a long-term placement may cost them 2,500, because it's continuous business that they are giving to your agency. So yes, it may cost them a lot more than having permanent member of staff, but and it will cost them slightly less than having temp. So if that makes sense. So just to recap it, temp staffing would be the highest in terms of the costing long-term wise, and then you've got long-term placements, which would sit in the middle between that and permanent placements. Permanent placement, generally speaking, and is the most cost effective for clients. That's why clients would love to hire candidates permanently, but due to shortage of skills, or depending on the area as well, sometimes they find it harder finding permanent staff. That's why they resort to just, okay, we can't find permanent, let's look for a long-term placement in that case. Temp to perm is something also that you may offer your clients, and some clients are used to it already. Temp to perm is literally having your candidate on a temporary basis in hopes that you'll have them on a permanent placement. So this is like a try before you buy, before you commit and have someone working at your practice full-time or someone working at your school or your hospital or whatever field that you're going into, before your client commits fully, they sometimes look at options of temp to perms. So what happens is they will have someone from you on a temporary basis, let's just say an hourly rate of £100 an hour. They pay you, you pay your candidate £60 an hour. You are earning £40 every hour they're working. So after 6 months' time, your client will says to you, okay, this candidate's been working with us for 6 months. We absolutely love them. We'd like to hire them now on a permanent basis. What can you do in terms of the rate? So this is then either something that you agree beforehand, or you take into consideration how many months they've worked for you and give them a slightly reduced rate. So had they come to you for a permanent placement, let's say you would have charged them 20% of the first year annual salary. Now, due to them having given you business already and had someone working with you on a temporary basis, you may give them a slightly reduced rate of 15% as an appreciation of their business. Long-term placements versus short-term placements or versus temp to perms is cost effective. So having temp to perm, I would say it's a really, really, really good way of selling the candidate. And it's cost effective. So there's no upfront cost. So generally speaking, when you hire on a permanent basis, you've got to pay a percentage of the salary or agreed sum. Let's just say £6,000. So you've agreed £6,000 for the hire of Dr. Jonathan. Now, Dr. Jonathan turns up to his shift, and on his first day of his shift, the client will pay you £6,000 for finding Dr. Jonathan. What a lot of clients prefer to do is, before they commit to the £6,000, is, can we have your Dr. Jonathan working for us on a temporary basis for 2 weeks or 1 week or 2 months or whatever, say they give you a specific time frame. Now, this is really, really cost effective in terms of they get to not only see your candidate, they get to see how he works, if this person is the right fit for them. It's very cost effective in terms of the way they recruit, because what some people do is they go in blind and they recruit and they find this person is not fit for the job, and it brings around problems. I hope you understood everything on this module, and I will see you on the next one. Hey guys, so now that we've finished it all, congratulations for finishing module 2. So I'd like to make it more practical and give you a bit of homework for you to do yourself. So now I want you to decide whether you want to be a generalist or a specialist. Are you going to be a general recruitment agency, or do you want to be a niche recruitment agency where you specialize in a chosen niche of yours? So I need you to make that choice. And once you've decided where you want to go, and you want to go down the route, let's say, of selecting you want to go down the route of being a niche recruitment agency, select your niche. I want you to look online, use ChatGPT if you have to, look at and Google, look at different ways of identifying what are high value niches, which ones are really, really booming at the moment, and what niche is it, the one that I want to take part of. So that's your second part of the homework. It's selecting a niche. Which niche is it that you want to go down? And then once you've selected your niche, the next selection or next bit of work for you to do is to ask yourself, what route do I want to go down? Do I want to go down the temporary staffing route? So temporary staffing, where you are earning a passive income, is really, really great, but it's more hands-on and you are putting more time into the agency. Or does it suit your lifestyle to be a bit more hands-off and be happy with the lump sum amount, but yet you'll be earning a little bit less? Again, it's hands off. You're doing a little less work, but you're earning less. So it's more deciding what field am I looking at, or what road do I want to go down. And then last but not least, looking at the long-term placements and temp to perms. Is this something that I want to get my hands in? Especially the temps to perms, is it something that you want to start selling to your clients, saying to them, before you commit to a permanent staff, which is going to cost you X, Y, or Z, why don't you select a few candidates for them? Say, I've got these candidates available, and instead of forking up front, it's going to cost you a lot less. What we'll do is we'll do a temp to perm where we'll offer you this candidate on a much cheaper basis that you'll be taking them on a permanent basis thereafter. So it's something for you to do. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one, and congratulations once again for finishing the module.